Fighting Gentleman here once again, and this is another video response. And it's time that I close this out in the way that I originally intended. To clarify, earlier this week I posted a rant on my feelings and distaste for the company EA after its public statement of it basically cutting off single-player games. And the link to the original video will be in the description, along with a few other links and articles that'll be discussed. And well, a user by the name of Dragnaut Silvas responded to me back and forth with a couple video responses, as well as me responding back with one of my own. Now, this is what I originally wanted to just do in one sweep, but well, when you're busy with several things and you want certain things done right, there's a time and place for everything, and that time is now. So, let the dissection begin.
From what it sounds like, you have had a bad experience with online games, and I think you might be a little biased, actually, in your assumption that EA's direction might be detrimental to their market and to the gaming industry at large.
No, not exactly. I haven't necessarily had a bad experience playing games online. I'm usually always playing games online, and not just fighting games, which is usually what I usually always play. There was a time where I was actually playing first-person shooter games, and I would have fun-filled experiences with that. Imagine that. I'm usually playing Street Fighter 4 nowadays. But no, the fact that I have had, my online experiences don't warrant how I feel about EA's decision. And bias, really? How am I supposed to feel biased? How am I supposed to have a biased opinion towards EA? I don't know what. It's actually funny you say that. Are you saying that because you think I've had a bad online experience, or is it because of the games that I disliked tend to be the ones that you happen to like that EA makes or other companies make that are similar to EA's model? Fucking Infinity Ward and Treyarch come directly into mind, because even though there's a campaign, it's all about that damn multiplayer. Call of Duty, oh yeah, man, let's make the same fucking game every year. But there's more to it of what I have to say, and you have more to say, so let's hear it.
Here's what I say. EA is not necessarily a flagship company that other companies want to emulate in their free time. If EA is doing something right, any good business would take note of that and possibly follow suit. But EA is also notorious for bad customer service. It's actually one of the top ranked and most just horrendous customer service from a recent article I just read, and I'm not surprised. It's a part of them doing business, and gamers, I guess, have to understand that they are a business, regardless of what people think and opinions, and just they have to operate from a business perspective, or they will fail as a company.
Oh, God. Let's take a look at what he just said again, very carefully, please.
It's a part of them doing business, and gamers, I guess, have to understand that they are a business, regardless of what people think and opinions, and just they have to operate from a business perspective, or they will fail as a company. But EA is also notorious for bad customer service, regardless of what people think and opinions, and just they have to operate from a business perspective, or they will fail as a company.
So what you're saying is, because they're under a business blueprint, that they get to pretty much do what they want just because it's for business. I find it funny that you say that only after you say that EA is notorious for bad customer service. And it's not like you even need to read that article that you read to find out about it anyway. You can see how they fucking nickel and dime their customers on a day-to-day basis with all the fucking sports games they release. They haven't released a new franchise that's even remotely interesting. And speaking of bad customer service, you know who else has bad customer service? Mad Catz, Capcom, Microsoft, Walmart, Staples, Office Depot, Best Buy, GameStop, and the list goes on and on. You want to know what they all have in fucking common? They also follow a business model of of their companies. But, just because it's all about business is not the reason why I dislike all these companies. The reason why I dislike them is because they fuck over people in the process. And just because it's all business doesn't mean I have to like it or accept or put up with the bullshit. I mean, in my last video, I talked about how I got tired of going in GameStop along the same time when I got tired of watching G4 shortly after it changed to that from it being Tech TV. And the reason why that is because really the only reason why I even went there, continue to go there, is because there's nowhere else to go. At least in terms of my radius. I mean, there's Play and Trade, but man, let's be fucking honest. Play and Trade, you have a better chance of finding a Dale Champs or Winn-Dixie with good prices than finding a fucking Play and Trade. There are quite a few in the world, but not as many. Fucking GameStops are like Starbucks at this point. But that's beside the point. The point is, I don't like it whenever companies make all these fucking decisions and they quote unquote say, oh well, it's all part of business and you just don't understand and blah blah blah. No. It's all bullshit. But once again, we're not done. I can't look at something from a different perspective when I see it for what it is. And what I mean by that is when someone makes a fucking public statement that is universally panned, and then they say, oh wait, I meant something else, despite the fact that the public statement they release afterwards is pretty much the same fucking thing over again. I'm going to show you what I mean from EA's own Frank, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Frank Givieu. Let's see what Mr. Frank has to say on development on single-player games in EA. Shall we? Now, the first part is the updated part, as it clearly states. So I'm not going to read that. I'm going to read the bottom part, which was the first part that released at all, anything outside the brackets. It says, Electronic Arts' game label boss, Frank Givieu, has revealed that he's not let any solely single-player games pass through his gates, ensuring that absolutely every single title the company publishes has an online component, and he quotes, "We are very proud of the way EA evolved with consumers," he said. It's hard not to laugh at that. "I have not greenlit one game to be developed as a single-player experience. Today, all of our games include online applications and digital services that make them live 24/7, 365. One of our biggest growth opportunities is play-for-free titles that allow customers to play at no cost and make purchases via microtransactions. We see this as a huge opportunity and one that's powered by a hybrid cloud model." Now, that's the first statement. The updated statement, like you may have forgotten to even take into consideration from the messages I've sent you in comment section in my first video, is that the updated statement, I didn't realize he had one,
until after I went back to quote from this website to further support my argument. So I read it, and I'm going to read it for you again. Many took it to mean that the company that publishes Mass Effect will be jamming multiplayer content into their titles in an effort to try and stop folks from trading in the game when they've burned through the bulk of what it has to offer. Well, I wonder why, especially when the same person says I have not greenlit one game to be developed as a single-player experience. How else am I supposed to take that? But when I spoke to Jibu today at the New York Games Conference, he said that wasn't what he meant. And to quote, he says, "Let me clarify. What I said was about not greenlighting anything that doesn't have an online service. You can have a very deep single-player game, but it has to have an ongoing content plan for keeping customers engaged beyond what's on the initial disc. I'm not saying Deathmatch must come to Mirror's Edge."
Frank, no one suggested multiplayer or deathmatch in Mirror's Edge 2. But from what I can understand, y'all ain't planning on making that anyway. The first one didn't turn out all that well, even though it was an interesting experiment, but no one is suggesting that. Only you have. Moving on.
Jibu chuckled at his own example and continued to explain what the shape of EA's game-making approach will be moving forward. To quote, "What I'm saying is if you're going to do it with an open-world game that's a connected experience where you can actually see other players, you can cooperate, you can compete, and it can be social. Everything that we do, we see the telemetry coming and telling us that's the best way to build our business, and that's the best way to build these experiences and be differentiated from others. Yeah, I'm not suggesting deathmatch must be in Bejeweled. It's just you need to have a connected social experience where you're part of a large community."
Again, no one suggested that. No one suggested deathmatch in Bejeweled. Only you chose that. You chose that. I'll give you credit. It's a different idea, but it's a fucking stupid idea. And I'm not even going to explain why it's stupid. And once again, no forum in the world of cyberspace has ever said, you know what, Bejeweled and Mirror Edge both need multiplayer. Yeah, we need deathmatch. We need deathmatches in games in which, to even fucking fit it in there, you would have to change the entire damn format. No one's saying that. Only you are. Now, as you can see, both of our subjects, Mr. Dragnot, defender of EA, and Mr. Frank Jibu, how the fuck you say your name? The spokesperson for EA. Both have several fucking fallacies in their arguments. Several fallacies that are so easy to spot, it's laughable. And I've crushed those fallacies and arguments altogether within a few minutes. Unfortunately, this video's gone too long, but we've only just begun. I've just started and crushing this whole fucking argument. So stay tuned for the second part whenever I upload it next week. Stay tuned. Fighting gentlemen, I'm out of here.